Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will understand what are RAG-based systems. But before understanding what are RAG-based systems, let us understand how we used to traditionally develop generative AI applications. So traditionally, what we used to have is that, first of all, we used to have a user, and then we have LLM. So this can be any LLM. It can be ChatGPT, it can be Claude, it can be Grok, anything. And this user used to have some query. So this user has some query, and we would combine that query with a prompt. So the query can be something like, what is the largest country? And the prompt is something like, you are a helpful assistant and something. So what we used to do is that we used to combine user query with the system prompt and send that to the LLM. Now the LLM would generate some response, and we would give that response back to the user. And user used to get that response. No problem, everything was working fine. Now, what is the missing part here? So suppose user asks some question like, how many rooms are there in my house? The LLM would not be able to answer because it does not have data about my house. Or if user has some startup and it asks question like, what was the revenue last month? The LLM would not be able to answer the question. Now, how do we solve this problem? And this is where RAG system comes in play. So let us understand how RAG comes in play in this situation. So let us start again. We have a user. So we have a user, and then we have a LLM. We need LLM, we need user. That we need this in both the cases. Now the user has some query. So this query can be something like what I just said before. How many rooms are there in my house? Or what was the revenue last month? Now when we send this query directly to the LLM cannot respond because it does not have data about my house, or it does not have data about my startup. Now I need to provide some context to this LLM. Now how do I provide context? To provide the context, I need to create a database. So this is the database. And the spatial database that we use in this scenario is called vector database. Vector database. Vector database stores data in embedding format, which means that it stores data in numerical format. So you might have your data about your startup or about your house in HTML format, in PDF format, or you can have that in CSV file. Now the question is, how do you store this text format data into a vector database? Because vector database stores in embedding format, which is the numerical format. Now I need a way to convert this text format to embedding format. Now how do we convert this? To do this, we have two steps. First step is called parsing. What does parsing mean? Now suppose you have your data in PDF file, and in this PDF file you have many paragraphs of text regarding your house or regarding your startup. In parsing step, what we do is we create chunks of your data. So maybe we create a chunk for first paragraph, we create another chunk for a second paragraph, and so on and so forth for third paragraph. Now after we create chunk, what we do is we convert that into embeddings. But you might be asking, how do we even convert this to embeddings? To convert into embeddings, we have special models which are called embedding models. There are many open source embedding models that are available, which are OpenAI embedding models, OpenAI text embedding models, Gemini embedding models. So using those models, you can convert your chunks into embeddings. And when you have your data in the form of number or embedding, you can store that in a vector database. Now, the vector database contains all the data regarding your house or your startup in embedding format. Now, when user sends a query like, how many rooms are there in my house? I do not send this query directly to the LLM. In fact, what I do is I send this query to the vector database, and the vector database will give me some data regarding that query. So if the query is, how many rooms are there in my house? It will give me all the data of that regarding that query. And here I have that data from the vector database, and I combine that data with the prompt. So this is basically the system prompt which I just discussed here. So the system prompt is something like, you are a helpful assistant, and something like that. When we combine the data and the prompt, now we send the data to the LLM. Now the LLM will get all the data and the system prompt. Now LLM will structure that response, it will summarize everything, and then it will send that data back to the user. Now after doing this, we can get an answer regarding our query. So if I ask a question like what was the revenue last month, I can get the response from the LLM, because here we are providing additional context to the LLM. We have a knowledge base and we're providing that additional knowledge or additional context to the LLM. Now the LLM can get that context and now can finally give response to the user. So also, if you look at the definition of what is RAG, so RAG stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation, which means there are two components. First is retrieve and another is generation. Retrieve means retrieving the data from the vector database, and generation is what the LLM does. So let us look at the definition. Retrieval-Augmented Generation is the process of optimizing the output of large language models so it can reference an authoritative knowledge base outside of its training data source before generating a response. So that is what we're talking. LLM does not have the context of the user query. So what we do is we provide additional context to the LLM, and now the LLM can provide accurate answer. So this is all about RAG systems. Now this video is a part of a playlist, and in further videos I will create tutorial videos on how to develop RAG based systems. I also have already uploaded tutorial videos regarding RAG systems. You can definitely check that out. But in this playlist, what I focus is I will go deep into how actually RAG system works. The videos that have been uploaded in my YouTube channel are fast-paced videos, but in this playlist, I intend to make a deep into RAG-based systems and create tutorial videos. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned what is RAG systems.